When the beat goes on, this one right here, man, it's just so sad, man. Federal judge from Long Island killed by hit and run driver in Florida. This is one of the craziest, saddest stories that you ever gonna see. So buckle your seatbelts, hit the like button, subscribe, take the $5 challenge. We about to get into it.
It's a very bizarre story. A 23-year-old driver who insisted she was Harry Potter is accused of veering erratically off the road and onto a sidewalk where Boca police say she struck two pedestrians, a federal judge from Long Island and a 6-year-old boy. Now, police say Sandra Stein was pronounced dead at the Vero Beach, Delray Medical Center. Now, the condition of that child is unknown. Investigators say the driver, Nastalia Snape, took off but was later arrested in Delray Beach, where she crashed her vehicle. Now,
so this beautiful woman right here killed that judge, claiming she was goddamn Harry Potter, fought with cops. It's so much that we're not getting from the mainstream media about this. This judge, 75-year-old woman, walking down the sidewalk, 6-year-old kid walking down the sidewalk, mowed down like blades of grass by Natasha Snape, high off of bath salts. Bath salts. This woman was high off of bath salts. But you're not going to hear nothing about it. Killed a prestigious judge. One of the pillars of our communities, a judge. 75-year-old judge and a 6-year-old boy mowed down by a sister. And the sister claimed she was Harry Potter and fought with cops. This should be a huge story nationwide. They're all covering it locally. Don't get me wrong. You can find it locally. But you won't find any outrage.
To a grisly discovery in New Jersey. 2 women found dead at a popular restaurant. Police are now looking into whether their deaths are connected to a man found dead at a car rental office. New Jersey reporter Anthony Johnson is live in Union with the story. Anthony.
Yeah, we understand that that person was found inside of a vehicle inside of this Enterprise location, actually in the back parking lot area. That discovery happened on Monday, and then the bodies of those 2 women were both discovered yesterday. Now, authorities are still trying to find out the motive for the 3 deaths that may all be connected. The bodies of 2 women were discovered inside of the K&K Jamaican restaurant yesterday afternoon in Hillside.
Cue all the black folk, them, they ain't ADOS, that ain't us. They foreigners. That's who's committing all the crime. The mainstream media is taking these cases where foreigners committing crime and trying to put it on ADOS, Foundational Black Americans. Cue that. Get ready to hear that. These some black folk, man. Goddamn Jamaicans, man. Sad, man. Sad. What the hell is going on in Black America, man? These some business owners, man. Staples in the community. 3 of them dead. 1 in a car at the rent-a-car place, and 2 found dead at the restaurant. And I love Jamaican food. You guys know that I eat Jamaican food at least once a week, many times twice a week. Jerk, curry, brown stew, plantains, beef patties, you name it. I love it all.
The bodies of two women were discovered inside of the K&K Jamaican restaurant yesterday afternoon in Hillside. The location is owned by the man who was found in the car behind the auto rental location here in Union. The car pulled into the lot in the middle of the night, and when police arrived, they found the man's body inside. That man did own the K&K restaurant. The family lived right across the street, and a neighbor described them as being peaceful.
I seen them often, came here often. They were very good people. Very nice family. If kids always out here playing and stuff, and they always come in the store. I am very surprised. And that's a shocker to me.
The names of the victim not yet released by authorities. The Union County Prosecutor's Office is the lead agency in investigating these three deaths.
More heartbreaking news to bring everyone. A 3-year-old has been killed in a drive-by shooting that happened in Connecticut. Police say the child was inside of a car in Hartford with his mother, 2 brothers and sisters, and a man believed to have been the intended target. A stolen car pulled up, driven by someone who opened fire, and then that vehicle sped off.
It is difficult to believe that the shooter did not know who he was shooting at, and it is very difficult to believe that he could not see children in that car.
The man believed to have been the target left the scene. The stolen car used in the shooting was found abandoned.
Of hate, a man shoved to the ground, a woman pulled by her hair. Police now say these attacks were carried out by the same man. Plus,
and it's been a beautiful week, but there are big changes in the forecast as we head into the weekend.
And I've done over 1,000 of them now, which is insane.
finding your next apartment on TikTok? Why, it's not just a pandemic trend. This is News 4 Now for April 8th. I'm Rana Novini. The man accused of not 1, but 3 anti-Asian attacks in the city is now behind bars. The most recent crime happening on Monday. Investigators led Joseph Russo out of a Brooklyn police precinct just before 11 o'clock last night. Detectives say on Monday, Russo pushed a 77-year-old Asian man outside of a Sheepshead Bay
Did you hear it? Joseph Russo. That means a white man. Now you're going to hear a bunch of black folks say, Italians is black. Hit one of you ever heard that. Italians is black. This is a white man, okay? Italians are not black. Okay? And that comes from the fact that Italy, you see the boot, it's close to Africa. They had many contacts with northern Africans, Arabs, over the years. And there was a lot of mixture between Arabs, Berbers, and Italians. So some Italians have a percentage of Arab and Berber admixture, which the black people means Italians black. But unfortunately, things ain't that simple. Italians are not black. Mr. Russo here is a white man who was let out of jail, a thug, a criminal, at 11 o'clock that night, and the next day, hours later, hours after being released, he's walking down the street pushing over a 74-year-old man. I just don't get this, man. And I'm sure the mob, the mafia, because, you know, they have some degree of honor. They're all rats, though. Mafia ain't nothing but a bunch of rats and snitches, but they do have honor with their neighborhoods, and they wouldn't tolerate this in their own neighborhood. Now, this is I don't know if this is an Italian neighborhood. I'm pretty sure it's not. But going around pushing over 74-year-old people in an Italian neighborhood, somebody will break your legs, bust your kneecaps. They just wouldn't stand for that type of stuff. Crime, yes, they're a criminal organization. But this type of stuff, this is just, I just don't get it, man. Just walking down the street, seeing an elderly person just beating them up or pushing them over. I don't get it. It doesn't even compute.
On Monday, investigators led Joseph Russo out of a Brooklyn police precinct just before 11 o'clock last night. Detectives say on Monday, Russo pushed a 77-year-old Asian man outside of a Sheep's Head Bay produce stand. They've also linked him to 2 assaults on women on Kings Highway in Brooklyn. He is now facing hate crime charges. Asian residents living nearby say these crimes are keeping them on edge.
Even though, that guy happened on 11 o'clock in the morning, it's not 11 p.m. You don't feel safe at all. It's terrible. Like are we all senior? So scared.
Police sources tell News 4 Russo has a long criminal record going back more than 10 years.
Okay, guys, so due to this and many other attacks on everybody, because as you heard, he attacked 2 other women who they didn't give their race. So we can just assume that those other 2 women that he attacked weren't Asian. But due to attacks on everybody in New York and San Francisco and other places like this, where there are moderate to substantial Asian populations, where everybody's being attacked in these places, they've isolated the Asians as the group that they're gonna, focus on. Just like everybody gets killed by cops, everybody gets pulled over, everybody, if you grab a cop's pistol, it's not gonna go for you. If you punch a cop, it's not gonna go well for you. If you're committing crime, you're gonna have interactions with cops, no matter who you are. But they focused on black people. So in this case, with these attacks, they're focusing on Asians. So we were the first on YouTube to cover this. Them sending Asian cops undercover to stop hate crimes. And if you saw that video I did, you remember that I said, and make sure you hit the super chat, make sure you hit the Cash App, make sure you hit the PayPal, like button, share. Unfortunately, that's the only way we know that you support the channel. Tangible things that actually help the channel. So salute to you guys that are doing that. We only know when I did that video on when they first announced that they were going to put undercover cops on the streets in New York, Asian cops, to just, mill around and walk around and kind of like be, bait. I compared it to the bait cars. They used to do bait cars. Now that's been deemed racist, so they can't do the bait cars anymore. But cops would pull up on a block or pull up at a shopping center, leave their keys in the car, undercover cops of course, and go into a store. And inevitably, every single time, a brother would jump in and ride off in their car. And then the doors would lock and the car would shut off, so the brother would be trapped in the car and can't move, and then the police would come up and arrest him. And that was deemed racist because it was deemed entrapment. You know what I'm saying? These guys weren't going to commit this crime. You set them up, you presented them with the lure, and it was a crime of opportunity. They didn't leave the house planning. It's not like they were going on a caper to try to find a car to steal. It's just you pulled up on the block that they were hanging out on, you hopped out of the car, you went in the store, and you left your car running. So you set them up. So that was deemed racist. And I've told you that white Americans can't do this, Hispanics really can't do that with this, but I told you that I told you that this is going to be very, very, very interesting when they send these cops onto the streets, these Asian undercover cops, and they have an encounter with a brother. Now, if one of these cops shoots a white guy, if like this white guy Russo had come up and punched one of these Asian cops, and the guy's like pulls out his badge and pulls out his gun, like get down, and Russo doesn't listen, and he shoots Russo, you might not even hear about it outside of whatever city, outside of New York City. But if it happens to a brother, it's gonna be, the president's gonna have to release a statement on it. So that's why I'm focusing on brothers. And the article says the NYPD is deploying Asian police officers undercover to reverse the surge of hate crimes against the Asian community. Police brass said Thursday. The next person you target may be a plainclothes New York City police officer, so think twice. Police Commissioner Dermot Shea warned, "We will never tolerate hate or violence of any kind in our great city." Now you see right there, they're plainclothes police officers, okay? So they're going to use, they found money in their budget for plainclothes police officers, plainclothes Asian police officers to, catch criminals that are attacking Asian people. But they eliminated the plainclothes anti-crime unit last June, 20 days after George Floyd was killed, in a move towards more community policing. So a guy got killed, a guy died of let's be real, a guy with no neck injuries swallowed 11 grams of fentanyl. 3 grams is deadly. 3 milligrams is deadly. He swallowed 11 milligrams of fentanyl, which is enough to not just kill a human, but you can kill a horse or an elephant with 11 grams of fentanyl milligrams. So a guy who swallowed 11 milligrams of fentanyl died in Minneapolis, and the New York City Police Department eliminated their plainclothes anti-crime units in a move towards more community policing. Why is that important? Because those plainclothes police officers protected black people, who are the majority of the victims of crimes. This is what white liberals forget when they cape for criminals and they talk and they go on these campaigns on trying to release everybody from jail and soften up the law so nobody gets locked up and eliminate police units. They forget that plainclothes unit in New York, the 600 officers, plainclothes unit, was protecting, yes, white people from the knockout game, Asian people from being attacked, I guess Asian hate crimes, whatever, and a gazillion black on black crimes. Because black people are the majority of the victims of crime in New York City, by far. And that's why black leaders were begging them, please, we get it. The guy in Minneapolis died of he swallowed 11 grams of fentanyl. It's messed up. However, what does that have to do with us? Why are you punishing us here in New York City for this? And they disbanded it. But now they found some money to get a plainclothes unit to protect the Asian community. Democrats, this is what you voted for. I don't feel sorry for you you New Yorkers. I don't feel sorry for you. Asians have been victimized in 28 hate crimes this year, from racial slurs and suggestions that they return to China to unprovoked assaults, including one with a pipe. So now you have this brigade of Asian cops on the streets mixing in with regular people. So now if you jump on an Asian, you think you're jumping on some helpless poor Asian that can't defend himself. You may be jumping on a cop. And how long do you think it's going to take them to catch their first victim? And who you think their first victim is? Who you think their first idiot that's going to jump on one of these cops? How long do you think it's going to take these cops to lure in their first idiot? And who do you think it's going to be?
An accused bigot busted, arrested in another anti-Asian attack. The alleged threats, the slurs, and the reason police say the suspect picked the wrong man to mock. Thank you for joining.
That kind of looked like my hair texture. Shocking.
Another anti-Asian attack, the alleged threats, the slurs, and the reason police say the suspect picked the wrong man to mock. Thank you for joining us at 11. I'm Natalie Pascarella.
And I'm David Ushery. Glad you're with us. Investigators say the Asian American whom the suspect threatened to stab was actually a plainclothes NYPD cop. News 4's Checky Beckford live at Penn Station with more on the officer who was working undercover. Checky?
Well, David, that officer was placed there specifically as part of a task force as a decoy to catch suspects like this one.
Led out of the Midtown South Precinct house in handcuffs. 35-year-old Juvian Rodriguez, now the latest hate crime suspect caught by the NYPD. Police say Rodriguez picked the wrong target Friday afternoon for his hate-filled tirade. An undercover detective with the Asian Hate Crimes Task Force. The detective on assignment at the LIRR terminal was headed down an escalator when police say Rodriguez approached, spewing hate, telling the undercover, quote, "Go back to China before you end up in the expletive graveyard." Police say he threatened to slap and stab the detective in the face, all the while unaware he was threatening a law enforcement officer.
Shocked that so many things are happening in New York City in our neighborhoods. I've never felt more unsafe walking around in the city.
This all part of the upward trend in hate aimed at Asian Americans over the last year. The detective, part of an undercover team deployed by the NYPD 2 weeks ago to combat such incidents. The plan? To use undercover officers as decoys in the hopes of catching hate suspects in the act. And it seems to be working. The NYPD says Rodriguez is the second suspect caught by the task force in just a week.
The second one in a week. God, don't even show us the second guy. We already know what time it is. You see how effective this stuff is? Now you see why the black leaders were like, man, no, don't get rid of the plainclothes unit. Because they help stop crime works. When you have people walking around, you have this many criminals and this many psychopaths and this many sociopaths in one city, you need a group of people that you got to keep them off balance. They have to know that. They have to think twice. So this has been 1 week. And New York has a very small Asian population. And this unit is very small. This unit is not many officers. How do you think it affected the black community to get rid of a 600-person unit? How do you think it affected the white community to get rid of a 600-person unit? How do you think it affected the Hispanic community to get rid of a 600-officer unit of plainclothes officers that kept these type of guys at bay? Because you can't just attack anybody. You can't just rob anybody. You can't just slash anybody because they might be an undercover cop. That stuff works. And now when you look at the crime rate in New York, It's no wonder it's gone through the roof. They got rid of, there's 600 people on the streets of New York every day that aren't on the streets. So now the criminals like, shit, I know for a fact that guy right there I'm about to rob is not an undercover cop. I know for a fact. I'm 1,000% certain that's not a cop. That wasn't the case a year ago. A year ago, he had to be like, I don't know. I'm still going to do it. I might do it. No, nah, I ain't fucking around. Or you got to watch and you just don't know. It's uneasy feeling. You may, all right, I ain't messing around. It make you think twice. Now they don't have to think twice. The only time they have to think twice is when they're going to attack an Asian person.
The plan to use undercover officers, Asian Americans, over the last year. The detective, part of an undercover team deployed by the NYPD 2 weeks ago to combat such incidents. The plan to use undercover officers as decoys in the hopes of catching hate suspects in the act. And it seems to be working. The NYPD says Rodriguez is the second suspect caught by the task force in just a week. Asian New Yorkers hope it will make a difference.
It just saddens me so much to see, like, it happens in New York City, which is, like, it's so diverse here.
Now, Rodriguez's charges include harassment and menacing as hate crimes. Police say his rap sheet goes back to 2002 with more than 24 arrests, a number of them in the transit system. In Midtown, Jackie Beckford, News 4, New York.